It is 6 o'clock, so we're going to open the meeting and we're going to call to order with a land acknowledgement. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin Nation. First motion. Moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Philip Smith, that the rules of procedure order be amended to move number 9, delegations presentations, up in the agenda order to follow number 5, mayor's remarks. And further, that the agenda for the regular council meeting held September the 12th, 2023 be approved as, are there any amendments, Kathy?
No, there are not.
Okay, then as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in general nature thereof? Duncan?
I have a perceived conflict of interest on item number 8C. It's the Economic Development Committee meeting minutes. And the conversations had at the meeting directly involve my employer and my employment.
Okay. Okay. So that's 8C.
Yes.
So noted. Any other conflict of interest in general nature thereof? Okay, seeing none, we'll note that in the minutes. Motion moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Nikki Gowdy, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held August the 8th, 2023 be approved as presented. Any errors or omissions or comments? Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In the minutes, it said that the report in regards to the Parham Church property would be coming back to this meeting, and it's not under the deferred items. It's not even on the agenda. So could we have an update about that, please? And thank you.
Sure. Kathy?
It will be taking place on September 26th meeting, because we have to do a report. I'm getting some information from Tyson and Michael before we can bring it forth, because there's other issues in regards to that. So there may be we'll have to deal with that as well. So, okay. So it'll be coming up on the 26th.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. All those in favor? Carried. All right, mayor's remarks. A few remarks. First of all, summer's over, holidays are over. We're now back to 2 meetings a month, plus many, many other meetings. So hopefully we had a good summer and now it's time to do more work. Strategic plan, there is the survey that we had a look at in our strategic planning meeting is on the website right now. There's focus groups and town halls being set up. The next session for council is October 31st at 9 a.m. at the fire hall. Right. Again. The workshop for the school property is going to be held next Monday at 6 o'clock, 6 to 8 here in the hall. And anyone who would like to come, please do. The surveys they've sent out, there's been 870 return surveys. So lots of interest. I will be here for the beginning of the meeting and then have to go to another meeting, but I would encourage staff and council to come and listen to what's being said. And I'd like to acknowledge some sad news that today is Tyson's last council meeting with us.
Yes, last council meeting.
Yes. Tyson, we've trained you well about council meetings and now you're going to leave us. So on the 14th, there's going to be a pizza lunch for Tyson from 12 to 1 at the office. And I just want to say thank you so much for all that you've done for us in the past 4 years. There's been some very interesting times, some very positive times, and you've done well to get all the things accomplished that you've done for us. So we really appreciate that. And we know that you're going to do well in your next endeavor. So all the best to you and your family, and we're sad to see you go. All right. I think that's anything. Deputy Mayor Smith, do you have anything to add?
I have nothing at this time.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything to add? All right. If not, we'll move on then. So we're going to ask Sarah Hannon to come up, representing the Charlotte Lake Farmers Market. Welcome, Sarah. Push the button on your right till the red light comes on. There we go.
Good afternoon. My name is Sarah Hannon Winnie, and I'm the market coordinator for the Sharp Lake Farmers Market. On September 30th, the Farmers Market will be celebrating Open Farm Days with a community barbecue featuring local food from our farm vendors, extended market hours, and participation from local community groups via attendance and demonstrations. The market has seen continued growth this season, and we hope to be able to draw a larger crowd for our final market, reintroducing our local food infrastructure to consumers. We have live yoga demonstrations scheduled, attendance from the local 4-H organization, and numerous new vendors. For this event, we'd like to apply for a special occasion permit from 11 to 2, coinciding with our barbecue time, to allow our local breweries an opportunity to serve their beer and connect with local customers and see the value in becoming regular market vendors next season. This summer, the market has averaged 10 to 12 vendors weekly, serving between 150 and 200 customers, offering the community pasture-raised meat, seasonal produce, fresh flowers, salad greens, maple syrup, honey, baked goods, other farm products, and artisan vendors. We've connected with Royal Frontenac Community Services and the Early On program, and they've offered their services on various weekends. We've had performances by local musicians. And thanks to the Sharp Lake Lions, we've been able to have 4 barbecues featuring seasonal products from our farmers, allowing us the opportunity to provide customers with a true farm-to-table experience. For the month of September, we've also recruited a new coffee vendor, something that we've been working to secure all season. And we've been joined weekly by the North Frontenac Little Theatre as they equally entertain customers and recruit new members. Additionally, we've scheduled a Sharp Lake Farmers Market Holiday Edition for December 10th, and the details are still being worked out. After a successful revitalization season in 2022, this year we introduced a market sponsorship program, reaching out to the local business community to allow continued growth with free programming, music, arts, and the continued development of a local food infrastructure within our community. All sponsorship funds support the development, community engagement, and the promotion of farmers market activities such as barbecues, performances, food education content, and special events. The farmers market community truly believes that when people have the opportunity to connect directly with the farmers that grow their food, it creates a deeper connection and appreciation for that food. And we hope to foster that relationship into the 2024 season.
Excellent. Excellent. Questions or comments? Susan, would you like to make any comments since this is your committee? Oh, sorry.
Yes, and it's a pleasure to serve on that committee. A lovely group of folks, and I've learned a lot. For example, I now know the difference between a farmer's market and just a regular market. You have to have at least 51% of farm produce for it to be a farmer's market. So yay for us. We're in that situation. So it's a positive group and obviously is being well attended and supported. So I am very much in favor of council supporting a permit to serve our liquor at to have the local breweries at the last farmers market.
I'll read the motion, and then if there's any discussion about the motion, we can have it. Moved by Duncan McGregor, seconded by Susan Irwin, that council received the presentation from Sarah Hannon on behalf of the Sharp Lake Farmers Market for information, and further that council declare the Sharp Lake Farmers Market Open Farms Barbecue on September the 30th, 2023, an event of municipal significance, and further that council authorize the CAO clerk to sign a letter to support to the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario. Philip.
Thank you. Just wanted to ask if staff will be working with somebody from the farmers market to understand or control the access to alcohol at the beach, because that's a pretty big area, and I guess we probably don't want open liquor all across the beach.
Usually what happens is there's some sort of fencing so that people underage aren't in there. Do you have a plan on doing that, Sarah, or how to do that?
So we've already connected with the local brewery and KNP who have done numerous of these events within Sherbert Lake. So the plan is to set it up sort of the same way that it was for Caboose Fest. So they will be beside each other in a sanctioned off sort of like beer garden area. That will be next to the barbecue where there will be picnic tables available, ideally in both sections.
Okay, I've seen the one at the Caboose and that seems to work well. And again, it's their license that they're protecting and they're very careful to not serve underage people. Okay, anything else? All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Congratulations, and please pass along our congratulations to all the vendors. And we look forward to this happening year after year.
Rick, thank you so much for your
Thanks,
time.
Sarah. All right. Bylaw enforcement
That's just
That
a deferred items.
was a deferred item. We have a motion for that. Moved by Philip Smith and seconded by Nikki Gowdy. Whereas bylaw enforcement was not available to join a council meeting in September as requested by council. And whereas the management team met with Frontenac bylaw enforcement on Monday, August the 28th, 2023 to discuss the bylaw process. And further that the manager of emergency services / fire chief will present a report from the said meeting on the next regular scheduled meeting of September 26th and ask that Frontenac bylaw enforcement attend the same meeting. So council wants to have Leanne come,
No, they're not coming.
but it's
All
been,
you want her to come?
yes,
That's why I said she wasn't able to come in September at all. So that's why I
okay.
said she would be away. She wasn't able to. So
And ask that the Frontenac bylaw enforcement attend
it has to
October's
be in
meeting.
October. Oh, she wasn't able.
How about an October meeting? So either the first or the second meeting in October, whichever she can make. Okay. All those in favor? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Duncan.
The last council meeting we had was August 8th, and part of the motion that stemmed from this was we were going to post the bylaw enforcement contact information in the paper, on the website and social media. And as of today, that hasn't been done. I'm just wondering what the status of that is.
I'd have. Correct, or Jody has, are you able to bring us update, please?
I can make a comment that the process that you'll be receiving on the September 26th does outline that bylaw enforcement is only directly contacted for animals at large, and other inquiries normally go through the township office. Again, we'll have to have Chris McDonough confirm those details because I wasn't at the meeting with bylaw, but I do believe that was the process and the concern and possibly why it wasn't posted for you.
So in other words, complaints come through the township office except for dogs.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I
So
believe
even if
so.
we may put that on the website.
We have a contact form on our website to get a hold of bylaw. That's very hard to find. I'm assuming that goes directly to bylaw enforcement now.
Chris, what, do you know what that says? I haven't checked it.
I do know, sorry, through you, Madam Mayor, that form actually goes directly to our administrative assistant, Donna Longmire, that handles by law enforcement inquiries. So that form does go directly to Donna, and she would vet the inquiry, and sometimes she will be able to resolve concerns before they go to bylaw. And then she would forward them to bylaw if it's something that she can't just answer a question on.
So on our website, there's a form, is that right?
Correct, there is one. Yes, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Nikki,
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So if anything happens on the weekend or after 4:30 in the afternoon, the resident complaining is basically up the creek
Yeah.
till 8:30 the next morning. So fireworks, noise bylaws or anything like that. It doesn't matter what our bylaw says. There's nothing that a resident can do until 8:30 to 4:30, Monday to Friday.
unfortunately, that is true.
Okay, so then going back to the reason those motions brought forward was due to the complaints with short-term rentals originally, but we thought it was an across the township issue. I guess we're back to, we do need to do something because beefing up bylaws isn't going to work.
I can.
Go ahead.
I can mention that one of the discussions that Leanne said, yes, they're not available 24/7. And the reason why they would not go out at 2 o'clock in the morning for, say, for instance, for a complaint, if it's a short-term rental, and there was issues with parties and things, they will not send, but some, because they've got caught going to some place and there's been fights and things going on and they've got caught in the middle of that. They've contacted the police and the police are not always able to go with them. Unfortunately, that's the situation they're in. And I know she did mention that. How we overcome that, I'm not sure, but we will bring a report and certainly Leanne can discuss that further when she comes to council. But that's some of the issues right there. Because I mean, a lot of things that's happening, it's happening later at night and not during the daytime. But for dogs, Jody's correct. You just put the report through and then it goes through and they have a 24-hour call for animals and things like that. But when it comes to the short-term rentals, they have a more of a difficult time.
Dogs are often more cooperative at 2 o'clock in the morning than people. Philip.
Just to go back to Councillor McGregor's comment about, making it kind of more front and center on the website. So even if the current process is, you call bylaw for animal complaints after hours and what the process is then to deal with anything else, just making it more accessible and upfront about what the process is. So residents know what they're getting into when they do make a call or inquiry.
Okay.
Chris to do that.
All right. Duncan?
Through you, Madam Mayor. So the process, was this put in place by staff or by bylaw enforcement? Because we just renewed the contract with bylaw enforcement at my first council meeting. And a lot of the things we're talking about here are in the level of service they're expected to provide to our township.
No, it's not.
Nothing's new.
No, it's nothing. Nothing's new. That's exact same bylaw, and it is through bylaw enforcement that created that bylaw. That would have been back when, and I mean that is a newer one with Leanne signing it and everything, because that's the one that was instituted back when Ken Gilpin was here as the bylaw enforcement officer.
But the way the process is now has always been.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, by township staff or by bylaw enforcement?
By council.
No, by staff.
What happens, let me just go back.
Yep.
When we hired the enforcement agency, this is how they worked. So that was what we accepted of how we would set it up. So during the week, they call the office, we go ahead with relaying that information to bylaw enforcement. If it's on the weekends, it's only dogs. And that's what we pay for.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I have the contract right here, the bylaw. And it says very clearly they all offer a 24/7 service. And they'll provide at their own expense a telephone answering system, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's all in the contract.
Does it say for dogs?
It says just bylaw enforcement. And it goes on to say about all the bylaws that it enforces. And it's basically all of the township bylaws. Actually at the very top of the thing, enforce all township bylaws.
So obviously the contract's not being upheld, and that's something staff can have Leanne speak about when she comes. And as we've said before, is it time to get our own bylaw enforcement officer?
I think that part of the reason we talked about posting that number on the township website and in the paper was to get a scale of how big the problem is. So council goes in with a clear head next July when the contract comes back up about how big an issue bylaw enforcement is.
Right. And again, going along with that is the collection of fines needs to be in place as well. Okay. Anything else? Susan?
Just as you mentioned, the collection of fines, we also talked about having the clerk from South Frontenac come and talk to us about administrative monetary penalties. And so the status of that, I guess it's still on our to-do list.
Yes. Actually, the clerks are having a meeting, I think it's next week. So I will be speaking with James as well on that.
Okay. Anything else? So we added that we asked the Frontenac bylaw enforcement to attend a meeting in October. All those in favor? Carried. All right. Now, development services. Andy. August final building report. We have a motion moved by Nikki Gowdy and seconded by Philip Smith that council receive the construction details report as prepared by the Manager of Development Services / CBO dated August 2023 for information. Any questions or comments for Andy? Andy, do you have any comments for us? Is it slowing down? Sort of building without permits. Okay. We're out and about more and seeing more, and it's something that we do have to deal with. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Carried. Okay, speaking of building, we have another one. Moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Nikki Gowdy. That council received the resolution from Charbet-Abachawan First Nation Band Council, and further that council decide if building permit fees should be waived or reduced for the building currently under construction located at 2135 Armstrong Road, owned by the chief of the Charbet-Abachawan First Nation. Now, therefore, it be it resolved that council directs staff to not waive the fees. Discussion. So this is a building that was built without permits.
That's correct. It's been, I guess it's been under construction for a couple of years now, but I just became aware of it recently.
Okay. Any other comments? Nikki? Oh, sorry.
Through you, Madam Mayor. I believe the fees should not be waived at all. Every resident has to pay a fee. And if you don't follow the policies, we have follow through and we have to impose those fees on people. It's just the way the world works.
I certainly agree that fees need to be charged. I'd just like to state that I am mindful of the need for reconciliation, and I have the utmost respect for the Charbet Lake Obidron Nation. And I'm sure that they will understand, just as we respect their culture and their obligations to their band members, that as a municipality, we have obligations to all our residents to treat everyone fairly in accordance with the Municipal Act and with our bylaws, and that there is a purpose for our permits under the building code, and to ensure that the residence or the building is safe for occupation, that it comes with certain costs for our staff to make those inspections, that those permit fees cover those costs so that our taxpayers are not on the hook for those who do not pay taxes. And as this property is clearly within Central Frontenac, a resident of Central Frontenac, I'm fully in support of permit fees being charged. I am aware, having had the pleasure of looking at our building bylaw, that we have the option under Schedule C that where construction is made without a permit, we can double the normal permit fee up to $15,000. But I would say that in the spirit of the resolution that was passed by the band, and I'm saying band because I have trouble with the pronunciation and I don't want to be disrespectful, that we not impose that further penalty that we are working forward with. As they said, they're two eyes.
Okay. All right. So, Bill?
And thank you, Madam Mayor, through you. Were those fees for the dwelling and septic systems, did they have the penalty imposed, or is that the regular?
Sorry.
Through through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Everett. Those fees are just an estimate. I haven't received a complete application to review, but I just based it on $200,000. A $200,000 job would be a $3,200 fee at the regular price. Doubled it would be $6,400. But I was on site yesterday and met with them, and it sounds like it's going to be a fairly modest construction, and I don't anticipate the fees to be that high.
Is it for the septic too, Andy, and rec all the fees, including the building permit too as well, or?
The septic fee is another a separate fee of $978. But they're undecided on whether they're going to have plumbing in the building yet.
Okay, anything else? Okay, going to call the question. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay. That is it for development services. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Now we are at Public Works. And we'll start with a motion on the activity report. Moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Nikki Gowdy, that council received the Public Works activity report as prepared by the Public Works Manager dated September the 12th, 2023 for information. Discussion, questions, comments. Nikki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tyson, I couldn't let you go away without asking some questions on your last meeting. Where are we at with beavers? I see on the report you talk about maintaining beaver dams, and I know that there's been quite a few that have been called in. So if you could give an update on that, then I have a second question.
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Gowdy, I think I misheard part of that. Just where are we at with maintaining beaver dams? So we are constantly watching and maintaining beaver dams. There's some that are weekly removed and maintained and some that are less frequent. Just recently in your area, we had a request for to remove a beaver dam just north of Westport Road in the creek that goes underneath Westport Road through the big culvert. The residents concerned that if the dam isn't removed and maintained, that there'd be no water there for the fire department to draw water out of that creek. And we've set up with that resident to a joint effort to remove the dam and then get township trappers involved to maintain it. I think that's the best I can give you an update on beaver dams.
Okay, so you are staying on top of them once. So the one down Wegerville Road has been taken care of?
Through Madam Mayor to Councillor Gowdy, I'll follow up on the beaver dam on Wegerville Road.
And my second question is, we kind of had a turbulent year with contractors over outside maintenance. As you're leaving, I was wondering if you have any suggestions to council on how we can have a better year next year going forth with contractors.
Through you, Madam Mayor to Councillor Gowdy, as we've learned with many different contracts, I feel we should wait our tenders. Our tenders are weighted, so they've got some flexibility, but I think we should really look at experience when selecting our contractor for next year. And when we get a good one, let's try, when we get a really good job done, let's try to make that contract extended for multiple years so we can try to lock in some pricing and some consistency for multiple years in a row. That's the execution of those contracts. All the wording is in there. We just need to be really, we've been really fair, but we need to be really fair, but really follow through and have really good consistency when executing those contracts and upholding those contractors to the highest standards. So.
Okay, one more.
Well, this isn't a question, it's a statement. I personally want to thank Tyson for his 4 years here. I think you've done a fabulous job, even on the street that may not ever be spoke again about. But I wish you all the best. I want to thank you for your dedication to the township and all you've done. And you come regular to these meetings and you sit here and you answer us as best we can, even when we're a firing squad at you. You should be commended for your performance. So thank you very much.
Excellent.
Thank you, Councillor Gowdy.
Susan?
Well, that's a hard act to follow. I'm just going to say thank you. But I do have just a couple of points. And I must commend you for your efforts in ensuring that there was temporary signage down at the government dock. I'm wondering if the signage that you had ordered has been posted, or whether we're still using the temporary signs. Yeah. Okay. The other comment I have.
What was the answer to that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor, when the signage, road supervisor reported the signage came in yesterday.
Great. So that will be installed. But the other thing I noticed going down at the government docks, and this is just a general comment, not directed at Public Works, but there's a proliferation of signs. And so when you're looking for a particular sign, like no camping, it doesn't really stand out. And so, you know, I think that just underscores the need for a signage bylaw at some point. I know, but, or at least some recognition that some signs need to be bigger than others, so they're prominent. And the other is, of course, not mentioning the street that shall not be named. But we were talking at our August meeting about public engagement initiatives for the remaining funds in the Charlotte Lake Village Reconstruction Grant. So I'm sure you're going to leave some notes on that for your team in your absence, but best wishes.
Thank you, Councillor Irwin. And I'll speak to that a little bit. My recommendation in a manager's meeting this week was to Public Works and staff have recommended on what we think we should do with the remaining funds. What we think makes sense is to spend that on the Medical Center Road area. Parking has been identified as a huge one over the years. We've got a really strange road, trail, beach parking area there that's all kind of a shared area that can be improved on, and that's where Public Works makes a recommendation. But we do also know the importance of public engagement that's needed. My recommendation is to turn that over to someone like the Economic Development Committee to really push that through the public and get all the public engagement required to make a good decision. And even if you have to get some help from the county on what matches up with their goals, but stay in close touch with Stephen Hamlin from the grant organization to make sure that we're starting out with ideas that he's even going to be able to achieve. So
I've had a couple people who are sort of on the perimeter of the village ask if their roads could become part of the village roads that this grant might be able to apply to, like Dixon Crescent, Cannon Road. And I don't know when we do the circle of the village if they're included or not. But it's something that we're going to be asked to look at.
Staff has organized for somebody from the grant organization to sit into a upcoming managers meeting.
Good.
To discuss those possibilities.
Excellent. Good. Okay. Anything else on the activity report? Philip.
Sorry, it's not on the activity report, but Tyson wanted to ask about the old mill in Parham. It's still there, so it didn't get cleaned up in the spring. Just wondering if there's anything before you leave, if that's going to be looked after.
Through Madam Mayor, Councillor Smith, the resident was supposed to be coming back from down south and touching base with us, and it is the way we've sent them the email. They understand it's their responsibility to do that remediation, to get that dealt with and pulled away from the fish creek. I can make a point to send a follow-up email and make sure that other staff are attached to that before the end of my work here.
Before it blocks the whole bridge and water over the road happens. Okay. All right. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. And we have a motion moved by Bill Everett, second by Dan Meeks. Whereas on August 1st, 2023, Central Frontenac Public Works released the request for proposal PW 2023-15 for the procurement of engineering consulting services for the roads needs study report with a closing date of August 22nd, 2023. And whereas 5 bids were received, the Public Works Manager has reviewed the bids and has evaluated according to the criteria outlined in the RFP and is recommending to award Acadia Engineering, Inc. as the successful contractor. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Council award Acadia Engineering, Inc. as the successful bidder in the amount of $28,000 excluding HST. And further, that the Public Works Manager be authorized to issue a purchase order for the work, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the contract on behalf of the township. Discussion. Philip.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Had a question in regards to how all of the roads are going to be dealt with, because what's in the report specifically says we're going to identify needs and rate all hardtop roads within the network. My understanding was we were going to look at something that was going to address all of the roads in the township. So there seems to be a lot of emphasis on hardtop versus the rest of the network.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Smith, the last road needs study included all gravel roads, and the engineers were paid to perform part of their extensive study on how to properly treat our gravel roads, which resulted in our engineers recommending to tar and chip and pave some of our gravel roads. We feel that in-house, although we can always improve on maintenance of gravel roads, we have no issue projecting the capital program requirements for gravel roads. Currently with our budgets and the trends over the last 5 and the projected next 5, I don't think this township intends on turning any gravel roads back to hardtop. So we feel it would be wasted time and money with the engineers to tell us how to prioritize the capital requirements of our gravel roads. By having them focus on the hardtop network. And the most important thing about this study is the relationship with staff and giving them reasonable budget projections and what our council and our taxpayers can afford between now and the next 10 years is going to be the best bang for our buck for that study.
Okay, Susan and then Duncan.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Tyson. And I think perhaps in part you've answered my question. I noted that in your report, Acadia Engineering had the highest scores using the matrix. And keeping in mind your comment about our maintenance contracts, how important experience is. I'm just wondering what aspects made Acadia stand out for you, because they weren't the highest price, they weren't the lowest price.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Irwin. So going from, let's start at 3rd place contender, Jewel Engineering, with the highest price. We were curious to work with a different consultant who hasn't worked for our township for a little while. Jewel has done a lot of work for us in the last couple of years. Next, we looked at the Ainley Group, amazing company. We've worked with them before too. I've worked with the Ainley Group. I worked for them in my previous employment and worked with them a lot when I was with the MTO. But their proposal, I was actually surprised to see their proposal didn't show much municipal experience. All their projects listed were all ministry projects, MTO, and I know they've done a million miles of pavement condition indexing, but Acadia had a really good municipal background for really directly related projects. And they were the first company to follow up and show how eager they were to get the job and meet the timelines. And we interviewed them, and we have a really good feeling about the way they're going to fit with our team. So that's how we made that decision. And luckily that matched up with the scoring matrix. So
Good. Okay, Duncan.
Perfect. So Councillor Smith, you've got my first question down pat. Tyson, just a couple logistical questions. Was the scoring matrix submitted to the bidders when the RFP was put out? And second question, why does council not receive the entire scoring matrix?
Through Madam Mayor to Councillor McGregor. I don't believe we've ever had a request for the tender, the scoring matrix. First question, the scoring matrix was included in the tender. And I don't know if we've ever had a request for the whole tender package, but it can all be public knowledge. It can be anybody can view that. The only thing we can't reveal is just like the consultants' unit pricing as they submit those unit price costs in their submissions to keep their estimating strategies private. But the scoring matrix can be provided. I can have Noah send that to anybody who has a request.
And just to add to that, Duncan, we tend to set the policy and let the staff do more of the nitty gritty, bringing us recommendations. If we don't agree with the recommendations, then we would ask them to go back and review it all again. So we try not to get too far into the weeds. That's what we pay them for. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Cindy, go ahead.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Tyson, I just have a quick question. It says they're going to visually inspect sewer storm systems in the village of Sharborough Lake, Parham, Titchburn, and Crow Lake. Why not Arden?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Kelsey, we will look into why Arden wasn't put in the contract.
Okay. Anything else? All those in favor of the motion? Carried. All right. That is it for you, Tyson. And thank you again for being with us for the 4 years plus that you were.
Thank you, Council. I've learned a lot from working with everybody here, and I really appreciate my time here.
And I'm sure our paths will cross. Okay. All right. Administration is next. We have a motion moved by Dan Meeks, seconded by Bill Everett, that council received the approved minutes from District 4 Recreation Committee.
No, you need to do the
Whoops.
procedural bylaw. You're on the wrong resolution.
How did I get mixed up here? 8, 9, 10.
Not the other one.
I don't have it. I have all the minutes.
Oh,
Apologies, Madam Mayor, I believe that I may have missed that. So I apologize if I missed that resolution.
Because it's not here. So let's go ahead with these. We can come back. Do you want to? Kathy will write one. All right. So moved by Dan, seconded by Bill, that council received the approved minutes from District 4 Rec Committee dated July the 19th, 2023 for information. Any questions or comments on that? All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Bill and seconded by Dan that council received the approved minutes from District 2 Recreation Committee dated July 31st, 2023 and September 3rd minutes for information. Anything to add to those?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we're having a bee on Saturday. We're doing work on the boards. So if anybody wants to come out and help out, that'd be great. So it'll be an all-day affair. So if anybody's able,
I saw that on Facebook.
you're more than welcome. Thank
Good.
you.
Bill,
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The councilor, me, you want my garbage truck on Saturday?
okay, all those in favor? Carried. Nobody can use your hands and your ability to move stuff around. There you go. Okay, moved by Dan and seconded by Bill that council received the approved minutes from the Economic Development Committee meeting on July the 5th, 2023 for information. Discussion. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, Duncan's back. Moved by Susan Irwin, seconded by Cindy Kelsey, that council received the approved minutes from the Washroom Committee meeting held on August the 10th, 2023, and the minutes from the September 6th, 2023 meeting for information. Any discussion? Bill.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question. Are they planning on keeping the old washrooms on site or is it being demolished?
Okay.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Everett, that hasn't been discussed yet. Sorry, that's been discussed. It hasn't been investigated yet to figure out which is more feasible.
It's still in the works. Yeah. Okay. Susan.
I just make a note that the washroom committee will be making a presentation to the Economic Development Committee. And they were quite clear that they're looking at either a new building or the existing building. They're still in the fact-finding stage, and that there will be more consultation once they've, come up with a recommendation.
Okay. All right. All those in favor? Carried. Oops. All right, now we have moved by Cindy Kelsey, seconded by Susan Irwin, that council received the minutes from the Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority Board of Directors meeting held July the 10th, 2023 for information. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Susan Irwin, seconded by Cindy Kelsey. The council received the approved minutes from the Charbot Lake Farmers Market meeting held on June 25th, 2023 for information. Discussion? All those in favor? Carried. And we have moved by Susan Irwin, seconded by Duncan McGregor, that council received the minutes from the Central Frontenac Trails Committee meeting held on August the 9th, 2023 for information. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. I have a motion moved by Susan Irwin, seconded by Duncan McGregor, that the following correspondence from September the 12th, 2023 be received and filed, and it's number 1 to number 12 in the list. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Thought I have a short name. Now we've caught up, Kathy.
That way. Yes. It's a long one to write. And I looked them over and I missed it.
We have it on here, don't we?
Yep, that's what I mean, but
Right.
it took me a little
Okay.
while to write it. Got to put it on the resolution.
Could have just read
No,
that.
we have to do it on. Come on.
All right.
Thank you. There you go.
Okay, moved by Susan Irwin, seconded by Duncan McGregor. Whereas council has provided comments to staff over the past few months on the draft procedural bylaw, which has now been incorporated into the document. And whereas staff are recommending that we include the existing land acknowledgement and the national anthem into the procedural bylaw. Now, therefore, it be it resolved that council authorize staff to finalize the procedural bylaw and bring it to the September 26, 2023 meeting for enactment. Discussion? Nikki?
I just have two things. So my first one is about electronic meetings. I thought we had decided that when we go into closed, if you're attending virtually, you could attend virtually to the closed session as well, but it's not directly saying that in the procedural bylaw.
No, I did not.
There was-
Difficult, yeah.
There was something about confidentiality, doing it that way in the beginning, but I don't know if that was fixed. I think at county, you can do that now. They've
Okay.
determined it's safe to do it that way.
Okay, then we can.
So we
Certainly.
can add that.
Okay, and my second question is, there's things in our procedural bylaw that are contradicting to the municipal act. And the municipal act trumps our procedural bylaw. So I'm not sure how we can approve a procedural bylaw that goes against the municipal act.
We can't.
We can't, but that. I'm
What
surprised.
particular-
Voting in particular, the chair or the mayor only votes in the event of a tie, and that's what the municipal act states.
Mhm.
But on here, it says in our procedural bylaw, it says that the mayor is allowed to vote on all motions. So I just would like that cleared up before we vote on that.
We need to check that because
Because I know Cindy did a lot of this work prior to her leaving, so she would have done some of the legal and checked on stuff. So we'll have to check into that for sure.
it used to be that the mayor only voted to break a tie.
Yeah,
But then I thought it changed, but maybe it's, we'll have to investigate that.
It did not go, it did not change. The municipal act still states the mayor and or chair only votes in the event of a tie.
Perfect.
I'll have to check and see for sure.
Okay. Bill,
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I thought it was up to the chair's choice to vote or not vote. I thought that was the new procedures, but I'd have to look into it again
Yeah.
too.
well, if everybody has a look at it, and Kathy will have a look at it as well. And maybe
I
talk
think she'll
to
point out.
Jeanette at the county, because the same rules would apply there.
Okay.
Anything else, Nikki? Okay. Definitely, we have to go by the municipal act. That's who made us. We are a child of the province.
Mhm.
If they don't give us permission to do it, we can't do it. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Carry. Oh,
So should we be voting on the motion until we have that clarified?
Okay.
we're authorizing staff to finalize and bring it back on to on the 26th.
With
So there
the-
is
with the
time.
changes, so we're gonna be bringing it back, so.
Yes. Bill,
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There is also that ultra vires clause that says the procedure can be approved even if some things are in conflict, that can be adjusted later.
Yeah, I think it does.
all right, we'll investigate that too. All right.
Susan had it.
Oh, Susan? Yeah, no?
I was just going to say, obviously, we're approving subject to
The
you checking,
amendments,
so
yes.
that's already been dealt with.
Yeah. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Carried. All right, is there any, I've got to do my, we've done correspondence. There's no public meetings, no bylaw agreements, notice of motion,
Yes, we have a notice of motion.
and a giving of notice of
Yes,
motion.
we haven't giving a notice of motion, sorry. Madam Mayor.
Okay. Bill?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There was also the draft procedural bylaw that we didn't discuss. Right after the
That's what we
the
did.
report.
We just did that, Bill.
Is that my computer?
Talking to you.
The procedural bylaw we just did.
Sorry, I thought they were a two-part. I have something about committees that I have an issue with.
You want to just bring those to me and we can.
Done.
Okay, all right. Now we have a notice of motion.
Yes, I do have a notice of motion. Okay. The notice of motion is coming from Councillor Gowdy. She's giving notice of motion to have council name the space in the bottom of the township office, the Marcel Giroux room, thereby recognize the important work that Marcel Giroux did for our community. He was a builder for the libraries in Frontenac County, and it would be a touching tribute to him and his family if the Sharp Lake branch of the public library were located in the Marcel Giroux room. So this will come forth to the next council meeting for discussion and in further report if Councillor Gowdy has one as well.
Okay, all right. New or other business?
None.
Nikki?
So I had, thank you, Madam Mayor. I had put in a second notice of motion. Kathy, you had
Yes.
said that you weren't, or that there was problems with it. But I would like clarification, please, and thank you. If a counselor gives notice of motion, should it not come to council, irregardless for council to discuss it and make a decision before it is turned down?
Okay.
Go
There,
ahead.
okay. Yeah, I did not put it into after discussing what your notice of motion was in regards to the planning and what Sonia has mentioned. So, I mean, it can certainly come forth. I mean, we can certainly put that on if you wish. The thing is too, is that it, as I mentioned to you in the email too, from Sonia, she would not recommend anyway, and we can't go forth with having a staff, you want like a staff report. So if there's no staff to do a report, how do we bring that forward? That's the only thing I was mentioning. in regards to that. But we can certainly, you can fill this out and we can certainly do it. And
I would like that because I did some more work and spoke to people at the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing yesterday. And they said it's like a housekeeping bylaw to change a number like that. They said, and then
official plan.
for an official, and they said council initiates the process for an official plan amendment. The proposed official plan amendment is prepared. Following this, notice and information is provided to the public and the approval authority is consulted. Other agencies may be consulted. A public meeting is held. And what the gentleman said is that we could have a public meeting. We would here at a council meeting. You wouldn't have to do that because all I'm asking is we just change the number of severances. And if the other townships around us have that same number, you wouldn't have to do any extra studies by increasing our severances from 2 to 3. And then we adopt the official plan amendment. Council gives notice of the adoption and the official plan amendment comes into effect as long as there's no appeal within the 20-day period.
My understanding is if your planner is going to do an official plan amendment, there is a process that they are told to follow. So I think what we need to do is have Sonia come and talk to us about it. And then after that, make the decision to put your motion forward. I'm sure she'd be willing to do that.
Absolutely.
Would you be okay with that?
Yes, because I was still confused. As I said to Kathy last week, I was still very, very confused about Sonia's response to not wanting to change it. Like they said, they use Premier Ford's name. Housing is important, not just in the urban areas, but in the rural areas. So, you know, if you want to change in your severance allowable to have 3 severances rather than just 2, within your period, that's a housekeeping amendment is what the gentleman called it.
We're better to have Sonia.
Yeah, we thought it was housekeeping too until the planner said it wasn't. Duncan and then Dan?
I'm not really sure what you're discussing here, but if a counselor brought a notice of motion forward, it's very important it goes through regardless of whether it can be enacted or not, so that everyone at this table has the information ahead of time to know what we're talking about, so we can avoid these conversations where we're caught off guard.
Well, I think Kathy was just trying to guide Nikki in the procedure to do that. Because it was something that the planners have spoke about before.
And in the email, she said she wouldn't be prepared at this point too, unless council went through the whole process, because there is a process going through an official
And
plan
it's a
amendment.
study.
That means having a study. You've got to have your public meetings to exactly, so the public know what you're changing. And that's what
money.
in regards to that.
A follow-up and then Dan.
I'm not disagreeing why it was shot down, but it needs to be shot down in the public. And so that should have been brought and then declared somehow as not being legal.
We'll have to check the municipal act and see
Okay.
what the rules are around notices of motion. Dan, because we've never had notices of motions like this before
No,
in my 30 years plus.
in my
Dan.
42.
On that same issue, I talked to Jenny about 2 to 3 months ago and she was going to look in Wolf Island's study because they changed their 2 to
Yeah.
3. So she was going to look into that too. So possibly she's already looking into that. So
Yeah, because Wolf Island did it, but I think they were a year doing the study before they could change it. Who else? Philip.
My only comment was going to be the county didn't want to do our work for the bylaw review either. So we got our own consultant to do that. So if they're not happy with that, perhaps our consultant could look at the official plan amendment.
As long as we've got the money to pay. And it may be.
Well, that's part of the
a
problem.
heavy-
We already pay the county to do the
it
work
may
and
be a
refuse to
big
do it.
budget item to do this kind of study. Anyway, let's find out. All right, this was not on the agenda, but we've talked about it pretty good. So let's have our last motion of the day, unless there is anything else to come before council.
No, there is not, Madam Mayor.
All right, moved by Cindy Kelsey, seconded by Susan Irwin. That bylaw 2023-52 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular council meeting held Tuesday, September the 12th, 2023, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 12th day of September 2023. And further, that this meeting be adjourned until 6 p.m. on Tuesday, September 26, 2023, said meeting to be held at Soldiers Memorial, Sharbot Lake. All those in favor? Carried. And it is 7 o'clock.